Horizon just home CREX, and this is Iran's loophole to seize US Navy vessels. But I shall know what you think. Okay. Why? Okay. First of all, how is Iran is seizing US Navy vessel? How is Iran doing anything to US Navy, right? Isn't US Navy supposed to be overpowered compared to Iran? I don't know. Is this going to be proportional part 2? Yeah. I guess Iran forgot what happened last time. Yeah, so I don't know. Loophole, like, I still don't understand. It's like what, based on what, Geneva Convention or something? It's like, if somebody takes your, vessel or something, it's like, at that point, like, you have a right to be pissed off or something, right? You can, like, okay, there's a loophole. Like, I didn't know there was a law like that at this international conflicts, right? If somebody takes something from US, it's like US can just basically justify it to do anything, like, okay, Iran basically attacked us or something. Oh, wait a minute, this is technically not an attack because it's a loophole. Based on what law? I don't know what this is, but yeah, it's by the channel. Know what you think. Great channel. I like how he covers topics like this. I like his video about, like, going to the actual boat and things. I'm still waiting for him to go to some aircraft carrier, like Ford class aircraft carrier, and just like walk around and things like that. That would be insane. But yeah, this is going to be interesting as well. Remember, flag more Rickson, don't forget to subscribe, so that way I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the Rick Sunday, there's a link in the season. Check out the end cards. Then yeah, let's watch it.
There's a naval loophole that theoretically allows Iran or China to seize one of these 3 US Navy ships while getting themselves in the least amount of trouble with the US government. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know it's not the arm-to-the-teeth Arleigh Burke destroyer. It's the little guy, but not just because it's the smallest of the 3 and therefore easier to approach, get on board, and bring under control. The real reason is that this vessel has a subtle yet important weakness that foreign adversaries could exploit to seize it, and somewhat legally. Because as opposed to the other 2 ships, this one is a drone. But why the operation of unmanned ships in blue waters falls into a legal gray area, what the US Navy intends to use naval drones for while preventing bad actors from meddling with their operations, and how aerial drones could pave the way for the adoption of naval drones by the international community is not what you think. You might remember that in 2016, China's People's Liberation Army Navy seized a US unmanned underwater surveillance vessel. The story was all over the news.
A water drone was stolen in the international waters of the South China Sea.
China has brazenly stolen a piece of American technology.
As a Chinese Navy ship brazenly stole.
Maybe even more famously, in 2022, Iran towed away a sail drone.
I mean, it's some next level shit, right? Okay, US drone was in China Sea spying on China, and rather than, like, I don't know, this news channel like Backpedal or something like that, like, oh wait a minute, they stole our drone. What was that doing? That, like, spying on China? Okay, I don't know. I thought they would give some kind of justification, something. Oh, okay, we got caught or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm guessing drones. I'm guessing loophole as in, like, some kind of, like, Geneva Convention or something. Basically, if, like, it's unmanned, I guess it's like okay, because there have to be human involved if it's gonna matter to anything. Otherwise, just like equipment, like a gun or something, right?
An unmanned surface vessel, or USV, operated by the US Navy's 5th Fleet. Again, many news outlets talked about the legal operation of these vessels in international waters and how Iran tries to seize them illegally.
They were trying to tell them, hey, that's our drone. It's operating in international waters. It's not causing any kind of a hazard to shipping.
Now, in all these scenarios, the unmanned vessels were returned to the US Navy. But there's got to be a difference between seizing a drone and seizing an aircraft carrier, right?
However, whether you seize a drone or an aircraft carrier, the principle is the same. This is an act of piracy. It's an act of war against the United States.
All right. Everybody calm down, because I got news for you. In contrast to what Western media said, both Iran and China argued that not only their actions were lawful, but also that they fulfilled their duty. They claimed that USVs pose a danger to international shipping, arguing that these vessels threaten mariners' safety, and therefore they had an obligation to remove them from water. Now, whether or not that was the real reason for their actions, China and Iran are not incorrect, and the US government knows that their drones are operating in a gray area. And that's partly why, instead of listening to this guy,
Piracy is an act of war against the United States.
the US government has been tolerating China and Iran's quote-unquote unprofessional behavior. Unfortunately for USVs, the very
Oh, that makes okay. I can kind of see that, right? Oh, wait a minute. This basically it's like the argument you would have when like driverless car would be a thing suddenly, right? I wait a minute. This like it's not safe. It's not tested. Basically, something similar like this could be dangerous to the boats and cargo ships because it's unmanned and things like that. I don't know. But can just US like give some kind of declaration or something like this is not some shitty technology. We are under control and this is our ship, manned or unmanned. Don't touch it or something, right? Basically, when you do something like that, isn't that supposed to be like, okay, I've said it, right? It's like US have said it like this is our, don't touch it. If you touch it, it's like an act of war. And after that, seize it. Like, what do you mean by legal, not legal? US just like said like this is my boat, don't touch it. And if they still do, that's like aggression, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know how these international things work. Because laws and everything works at a national level. Like US has their own law, Iran has their own law, every country has their own law. When it comes to international, it's just usually with convention and things, right? Geneva Convention, this and that. Otherwise, what law? International waters literally have no law as far as I can think of, right? That's why a lot of crime happened there. Because no particular law applies. When it comes to cargo ship, I'm guessing like, whichever country that cargo ship is from is supposed to be the law there or where it's going. I don't know, it's confusing.
fact that they don't have a person on board violates one of the rules of CREX. The 1972 Convention on International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea, also known as CREX, includes 41 rules related to safety, maritime proficiency, and good seamanship. These rules have been adopted by the international community in order to reduce the likelihood of maritime incidents. And in case of an accident, courts determine fault, cause, and liability based on the rules in CREX. So what rule are the USVs breaking exactly? Rule number 5 of CREX demands certain lookout requirements that USVs fail to adhere to. This rule doesn't explicitly require vessels to have a physical watchstander on board, but it does say that lookout must be continuous, proper, and use sight, hearing, and all other available means appropriate. Now, to many of us, having cameras, microphones, sensors, and a remote operator might seem reasonable and sufficient for a proper lookout.
Yeah.
But a quick look at numerous court cases and lawsuits demonstrates that the maritime community still interprets a proper lookout as having a physical presence on board.
I mean, based on the US law, I'm guessing those were US cases. US law doesn't apply in Iran, but Iran's, taking control of the ship. What are they saying? Like, okay, we respect your law and your decision, and since your decision is that there has to be a human present there, otherwise not really a lookout. I don't get it. Yeah. I know US law, has this kind of a thing where some judgment is passed, that's a precedent now. If some similar case comes, they basically look to that, judgment, right? And that becomes a thing. But is that the case everywhere, right? And does that apply to every other country as well? Because that's a US thing, isn't it? I don't know.
But even if the cameras could satisfy the proper part of the lookout, USVs still would not meet the continuous requirement of the lookout. Current electronics and satellite equipment are not reliable enough to maintain a constant, stable connection between the vessel and the operator. And the following example demonstrates that this rule is not some hypothetical.
It's technicality, isn't it? Like, okay, you can say like this can just like hear and transmit 24/7. It's like, okay, among those 24/7, sometimes malfunction, but that's like, that's not gonna, you can't really apply that like a, error as like something it's not gonna work. Like a human can faint as well, a human can get sick. I don't know, how is that a thing, right? If something can transmit 24/7, that's technically decent, but good enough, I guess.
This is Devil Ray, the USV that performed the fastest international run in the world by an autonomous vehicle. Do you notice anything unusual? Yeah, there are people on board. That's because there are similar provisions applicable to US waters that require maintaining a manned helm on board on all vessels at all times. This legality issue with the operation of USVs is kind of a big deal, especially considering that the US Navy envisions that by the middle of this century, up to 40% of their naval fleet would be unmanned.
Yeah, I saw the video of Task and Purpose about like how, Marines. No, wait a minute. Yeah, Marines, right? Marines are changing their strategy, and how like China is like the larger navy in size, in basically comparison with number compared to US is now larger one. And rather than like US just point blank going in that direction, US is thinking about more like drones, right, to fill the gap rather than just like like increasing the number of everything they have. They're going like more drone wise, which is basically this is. So yeah, the US is going to ramp up drones a lot. So I guess they have like invested thing for them to like go after all this like old laws and provisions, right? They need to like have an international discussion about this. Like, okay, this is a thing of past. Drones are more accurate now, right? This manned thing cannot be a thing anymore. This and that. I don't know. US has to like pursue this.
In fact, according to the US 5th Fleet Commander, Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, the United States and some allies plan to have 100 unmanned surface vessels available for patrol in waters around the Arabian Peninsula by the end of the summer of 2023. But why does the US Navy need all these drones anyway? In 2022, during Digital Horizon, which was a 3-week unmanned and artificial intelligence integration event, many new platforms with different mission profiles were tested for the first time. This included anything from mid-sized boats that are intended to work alongside capital ships to smaller vessels that can operate independently and are mostly used to collect data from their surrounding environment, like the sail drone that Iran had towed away. The advantages of USVs over manned ships is somewhat obvious. They are much cheaper to build and less expensive to operate, making them far more expendable. This is why, aside from the United States, a number of other nations, including China, are now investing in USV technology. Unmanned vessels are ideal for missions that pose higher risks to the crew of a manned ship, say a minesweeping operation, but also in adverse weather conditions. In 2021, one sail drone recorded 109.83 knots of wind speed while going through a Category 4 hurricane, officially recording the highest wind speed measured by an uncrewed surface vehicle, which made it into the Guinness Book of World Records. And unlike most manned vessels that risk being capsized when the waters get rough, sail drones can upright themselves automatically
That was intense.
due to the weight and placement.
Yeah, this like I still remember playing that Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and whenever like basically you have to like, does that work in real life or is it like a video game thing, right? Like facing front, face first. Like if boat is like sideways, you're gonna either damage or capsize. But if like if the wave is coming towards you, like you face like face forward, but the boat like face forward, it's gonna find. Does that work really, or is it like a video game thing? Because that shit was insane. It just what we just saw, like the whole boat got like flipped aside.
Of their keel. Mantus T-12 and T-8 are also examples of USVs which not only are packed with sensors and equipment, but can also self-right themselves. T-8 and T-12 are watertight and therefore would never sink, but they could flip over. To upright themselves, these drones first take on additional water to partially sink. This partial sinking changes their center of mass in a way that flips them upright. They then blow out the water out of their hull, making them float on the surface again so they can continue their normal operation. Unmanned vessels can also enhance.
It's insane that this kind of drones with this kind of like complicated like commands and features to do all these things, they become a living creature, isn't it? Like, okay, a boat is like a vessel that can be like capsized, sink. These drones cannot sink, and they can like sink if they really want to, just to like correct themselves. That is insane. That's like a fish or something at this point. It can't, sink, right? It can do whatever the fuck it wants. It's always going to be there. It can't capsize because it can always correct itself.
Force projection and supplement the afloat workforce. For example, arsenal ships. This could be in the form of smaller USVs that could attack smaller targets. In this case, what's being launched is a Switchblade loitering drone, and it's headed straight.
I mean, one of the most dangerous boats are those small torpedo boats, right? That's what they call. Like one boat that just like launch torpedoes. Those are very small things. So a small drone boats that are like dangerous is not that far-fetched to think of. Like, it can't happen.
Straight toward its target, and it's a hit. As you can see, all the high-tech defense systems of the red wooden box have been destroyed to pieces. But kidding aside, just imagine having the US Navy is currently
Ghost Fleet Overlord, like damn, okay. You went all out with the naming.
experimenting with. They're of course currently manned, but the idea is to operate them remotely from a nearby manned vessel, and they're envisioned to have capabilities like refueling at sea without any crew on board. Since rearming VLS cells at sea is currently not feasible, Arsenal drones can expand the firepower of US Navy's guided missile warships. That said, US Navy's fiscal year 2024 budget documents are very clear that USVs would not be capable of payload activation, deactivation, or engagement without the deliberate action of a remote off-hull human operator in the command and control loop. An example of this is the Turkish unmanned vessel Marlin, which in March 2023 launched a guided cruise missile to demonstrate its capabilities. In this case, the missile was fired remotely from a mission control station located on land.
I mean, what is the alternative? Having some kind of automation doing that's terrifying. So of course, like, you need a remote control center who's like controlling things, basically like how are seeing the thing, I guess. I don't know. That's how it should be when we talk about weapons. I don't know.
I should also mention a couple of downsides of USVs. One is that not if, but when they break down, USVs would be stuck in water until help can arrive.
Wait, it doesn't have an arm that comes out and just like fixes itself, just like it can just like correct itself. Okay, that shit is coming in the future. I'm not gonna lie. Right? Some arm comes out and just like try to fix it. There you go. Or having a small mechanic drone-esque thing inside that detaches and like fix things, like by, I don't know, trying to find where. This is insane.
Another issue, especially with drones that require frequent communications for guidance, is signal jamming. That said, as drones move toward becoming autonomous, this issue may fade away. With all the commitments and investments that the US Navy is making to integrate USVs into their naval force in the near future, they're going to have to reconcile USV operations with CREX Rule number 5. As it stands, there seem to be 3 potential options, first of which is a total oxymoron. One approach is to man the unmanned vessel with lookout watchstanders. Rear Admiral Casey Moten, former program executive.
I mean, what's the point of USV then if you're gonna have a human there? I guess like just one human compared to a squad or a team. I guess that's better, but I don't know. Imagine that person, like your duty is to stay on a USV alone, sitting there. Oh, that's insane. That would be too much. Wouldn't that be like, okay, you're just like traversing seas or whatever, I don't know, whatever your thing is, whatever your task is, you're alone there.
Officer for unmanned and small combatants noted a skeleton crew would handle those things that are just not quite there with maneuvering critical situations. The statement doesn't clearly say that the crew would fulfill the lookout requirement, but regardless, manning an unmanned vessel pretty much defeats its purpose, and the Navy is unlikely to adopt such a proposition in the long term.
Oh, by the way, have a lookout and this few people of a team, so like 4 or 5 people squad. It's not a USV anymore. What's the point? Just it's a basic boat now. Why have like complicated like self doing things, which is costly probably? Just have a simple boat if you're gonna do that.
Another approach is to keep the status quo and continue operating in this legal gray area. But this could hurt United States credibility if the international community views the Navy's USV program as a gross violation of CREX. Plus, the adversaries could continue exploiting this loophole as they have been in the past. The third and most likely approach is to promote new maritime rules that would also cover the operation of USVs. And
that's it. Like, in the end, whatever rules you have is because all countries agree. US can say, we don't agree anymore. World is moving on. USV is a thing. Like, change the fucking rules. If people don't, it's just like, okay, you're being stubborn, I guess. We are not going to adhere to these rules. So we're not really violating anything. It's just like, all of you just like, I don't know, being an a-holes, I guess. I don't know. US can just say, like, we're not going to stop progress because all you don't want to. I don't know.
this won't be a first. The aviation community did exactly that for aerial drones, when in 2019 the European Union regulated unmanned aircraft operations, including personnel requirements and other parameters of operation, like zoning, which bans drone operations near airports. Following those footsteps, a similar framework.
All of them. What if like some idiot just takes a like DJI or whatever those drones are, right? What if somebody takes a drone and like flies in like no fly zone at drones? How would they know whose drone that is or something? And if they get caught, like what is going to be the punishment? This is insane. People treat drones as toys nowadays, right? Amazon drones. And what if somebody mistakenly like flies a drone in like anti-drone areas, right? I mean, obviously, like, drones can be deadly, so understand anti-drone areas. But having access to basically when a kid can fly that, like that could be like problematic, isn't it?
Work could be created to fold USVs into the global maritime infrastructure. This would include safety standards, requirements for avoidance systems, and defining operating zones. The lookout requirements could also be addressed at the same time, so USVs could once and for all operate alongside manned vessels without breaking any rules.
That is what's going to happen. I think the rules are going to change. Like, come on, man, we have like technology. We don't need a person to. I mean, cars have like cameras and sensors and automated system. ADAS and things like that. Like in the ADAS is a new thing. Every car has an ADAS now. Driver assist. It will automatically hit the brake. It will automatically change the lane if like you can't. If a driver sleeps, it will like automatically does things. That is becoming way too common now. Every car has to have an ADAS now, okay? So we're basically telling us like we humans can't even drive right, so computers gonna do us for us. Of course, this like we have technologies to do better with the drones and things. We don't need a human lookout because we have something better. They can argue that, right? This 2024, like we have better things now, right? Even AI is getting better, right? In 10 or so years, people will argue like semi-AI or something. Let's call it VI. I don't know. People, artificial intelligence, like broader spectrum things. But when somebody thinks of AI or true AI, it's like proper intelligence. But nowadays, everything's an AI. So people like using the term AI like it's nothing. Like anything can be an AI. Not really. So half type of AI, not really like sentient AI, but AI enough. Can basically man or let's just say abort something like this and just basically how somebody told an AI to do a job and just like went out of his way to like solve that problem. That's a complexity there. an AI could basically man a drone like that. That could happen in 10 years. Right, well, Iran's loophole to seize US Navy. That's insane, right? Iran is doing that. Like, there's no part of them thinking, like, wait a minute, what if US gets pissed off? Like, okay, I don't care about the rules. How the fuck you take my drone or something? I don't know. But obviously, because of the current Middle East crisis with the Gaza and things, whole this like um, the maritime route being the issue. Iran is kind of like in the center of things. So this is all like a strategy of them, basically trying to like stir the pot or something to put the pressure on US and West for the Middle East problem. So yeah, of course they're gonna do this. They're gonna find anything to like they can find to put pressure on the West, so they can like get better. I don't know, like better deal for Gaza or something, ceasefire for Gaza or something like that. I don't know where that is going. Like, is the ceasefire there, right? Because I think Biden was talking about something like that. If I remember, like ceasefire talk is there or something. I don't know. But yeah. Right, well, if you like my Alexander, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.